Girl, I'm a little bit nervous for this one. I feel like you're going to be mad at me a lot.
Oh, no. Really?
I just feel bad for this guy.
I know. But...
Hi, girl.
Hey, girl.
Hi, girl. I know. Look, this is going to be a tough one. Let's get through this quickly. You guys, join us on the Patreon. If you want more fun, laughs, good times, Jillian and I have done over, 150 bonus episodes for you to download and binge right this second?
Yeah, and we have after parties and Zoom hangs, and there's like a ton of stuff going on.
Right now, we're in the middle of the Martha Moxley case, and then we did Fear City and Tiger King and The Vow and I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
And The Jinx and Making a Murderer and Don't F with Cats.
Serial. We did Serial back in the day.
We did the first season of a podcast once and never again. It's great, but like never again.
No, girl, you have breaking news. You need to tell the people.
Well, okay, so Mike wrote this play. It's called 'Twas the Night. It's a radio play. It's like a holiday feel-good kind of thing.
But it was also done as a play a few years ago. I went to see it, and I loved it.
Oh, thanks, girl. Yeah, we put it up a couple times, and we were going to do something like a podcast kind of thing. Like last December, we were talking about it. And then, 2020 happened, and we thought, why don't we hire actors, because there's not much going on for them right now, hire Mischief Management, a production company whose whole life is bringing people together for conventions like BroadwayCon and Con of Thrones. So we were like, okay, why don't we just get, if they say yes, my Hamilton friends and Freestyle Love Supreme friends to act in this thing. We're going to pay everybody to do it, and we're going to raise money for the Actors Fund, and we're going to put it out into the world for free. And we worked on it, and then Mike let me and you be in it as the drunk people in the background in a bar scene. Yeah, but it is kid friendly. But we got Chris Jackson, the original George Washington in Hamilton. You can see him right now on Disney Plus. James Iglehart, Tony Award winner from he's the genie in Aladdin. Anissa Foltz from Freestyle Love Supreme. I can't believe everyone, including you, said yes to being in this thing.
I couldn't say yes fast enough. I was like, let me at him. I was.
Yeah, we had a great recording with you, by the way. I mean, shocking.
Yeah.
So you can listen to it on December 14th on the feed for the Hamilcast podcast feed, and at twasthenightplay.com. But the trailer's out, and we're going to drop the trailer in the TCO feed too.
Yes, and just a reminder, when this thing comes out, it's coming out in the Hamilcast feed. So to make sure you get that, go and subscribe to it right now. You've been meaning to do it anyway.
Thanks, girl, and thanks to everyone who already does. I see your Spotify Wrapped Insta stories. Thanks. I'm all over everyone's Spotify. So sorry about that. We both are. Apologies.
All right, girl. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about the Trials of Ted Haggard, which is a misnomer. I don't appreciate. I know he didn't go to trial because it's all happened in his personal life.
Well, as a primer, if you guys don't know who Ted Haggard is, he's been on episodes before. He was the head evangelical basically for a long time, and then he got busted doing meth with a gay sex worker.
Yeah, a couple of them.
One of the most powerful evangelical leaders of our time.
Please welcome Ted Haggard.
I'm living a pretty good life. I love this.
But one shocking scandal brought his world crashing down.
Reverend Ted Haggard said that he bought crystal meth from Mike Jones, the male prostitute who says Haggard paid him for sex.
I went there for a massage.
What we have here is someone who in leadership has failed the standard that he lifted up for himself.
He just needs to disappear.
So this is my new life. Village Inn, Motel 6 or 8. I didn't make any money this week. Lost money big time. Lost money I don't have. Gay, straight, bisexual, what are you, Ted Haggard?
I stuck with him because I believe you fight for the good.
Somebody struggling with sin is the purpose that the church is on earth. Now I've lost my career, I've lost my social standing, I've lost all my positions. So in this stage of my life, I'm a loser.
Before we really know anything, the movie opens, we're it seems like a bonfire.
Who invites you into their house, cooks you a marshmallow? I mean, this is the American dream.
Well, you know what? We've made a decision to live in a home where our kids feel secure, where we can hear the crickets, where we see a full moon, where we have a church that loves us, and where we can make marshmallows for our guests.
Well, it's just Pastor Ted and his wife Gayle and our filmmaker Alexandra Pelosi. Yeah,
if you recognize the name, she is the daughter of Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. They are very chummy, which makes me nervous about, I think that's crossing an ethical barrier.
She is not my kind of filmmaker. We'll get into specifics of that. She's not my type.
This is in 2005, right?
Well, the footage from 2005 is from a documentary that she made called Friends of God about Pastor Ted before the scandal.
Right.
So that footage of happily roasting marshmallows, that's from her previous documentary with him.
Can we get into this footage for just a goddamn second? Because the thing about this footage that is so enraging is that this guy is so fucking sanctimonious. He's sitting there this is a guy, he's very famous. We're going to get 20 minutes of news footage of him being interviewed by Barbara Walters and talking about how the White House calls him, if this was the Bush White House. And so we're sitting at a campfire with him and his wife and Alexandra. They're basically just talking about how wonderful Ted fucking Haggard's life is.
In America, you're free to do things as well or as poorly as you'd like. Some people make poor decisions, other people make better decisions.
There are people in the world who make poor choices and people who make good choices, and we're just the people who made the good choices.
Watch, the hypocrite describes himself in his natural habitat. I'm like, this is a very sympathetic view of him because there's not enough, I'm going to say this right now, there's not enough footage of him preaching anti-gay bullshit. There's not enough. There's none of it, actually. And I know it's there because it's been in movies like Jesus Camp, so...
Yeah, and so I just wrote, this sanctimonious fucking bastard, I love knowing that this guy is going down.
Right, because then there's a lot of on-screen text here with this truly heinous font. Talk about bad decisions. That font is an abomination. Gays are amazing. That's not the abomination. That font is the abomination.
The thing we have to say is that this documentary, I'm sorry, Alexandra, it's not very well made or shot.
No.
It feels very shoestring. And part of that is because the real documentary she made was called Friends of God, which was about traveling around with Pastor Ted. And this whole thing is about his fall from grace. So it feels like she just picked up her camcorder and went back to hang out with her friend Pastor Ted.
And that's the vibe where it's she's very involved.
Yes.
Totally. And the vibe is very remember when you were on top of the world last time? And now you're she's let's talk about your fall from grace, right?
Because it does feel like she cares about him, but it also feels like she's punking the living shit out of him at the same time.
She is either hysterical laughing or holding back laughter with everything she says to him. And there's part of me where I get that, where she's just really, with the good choices? Okay. She has that kind of vibe, which I appreciate, but she's too present.
I know.
Is that wrong to say?
No, and it's just, unless you're Jarecki, that's just not how people make documentaries anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, it's sometimes filmmakers want to be invisible, she does not. And so, but we see...
You can't say that enough times, and it's my favorite thing. I love how annoyed you are.
But there's a shot of her where I'm and we're 2 minutes into the thing, and we see footage of someone filming her. So, someone is filming someone filming Alexandra. And it seems like a whole lot of cameras for what we eventually end up seeing is a shaky, handheld, almost found footage horror movie of this gay guy who's trying to pretend to not be gay. But wait a second. We're at this event at this arena or this stadium. And again, Alexandra's
first Motley Crue, then Neil Diamond, and now you.
First Motley Crue, then Neil Diamond, and now you.
Yes.
And it's a montage of how happy he is and how wonderful.
This is before. This is from her first movie.
And he is hugging exclusively men.
Yes.
There is not a woman in sight. And then he's stadiums full of men.
Stadiums full of men that want to live a better life and be better with their wives and all that kind of thing.
Praise the Lord and pass the testosterone.
That's exactly what this is. There's loads of testosterone in the room, and everybody seems to love it.
I'm never happier than when I am just surrounded by men. End quote, dash Ted Haggard. Ted.
And he's also being very, the hugs linger a little too long.
The hugs, Patrick, girl. They're canoodling. In the parking lot of the stadium, not a woman in sight, which is fine. But you just like talked a lot of shit about gay people.
I know. And then, as if it all wasn't bad enough, then he's on his scooter. He has a scooter that's how he gets
It's all so gay.
I know.
And it's not an insult. It's just a fact. Like, I don't think being gay is wonderful. Yeah. It's fine. But it's all just so gay.
It's true. It's so gay.
Like, there he is on the scooter and hugging all these like men who are younger than him, which I don't love. Like, how old? Like, it's just very like just
very
do
gay.
just be it.
I know.
Be as gay as you want to be, and if you want to be a little gay, be a little gay. That's fine. But don't come down from a stadium where you were just screaming about how all the gays are going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
And then run off on your scooter to hug the other gay man on the, Ted, girl. Like, he's just in a sea of men. And he's like hugging them and flirting with them. And then like that wife of his calls.
Yes, yeah.
And his face, oh, hey, honey.
Oh, hey, honey. Yeah, I'll be home as soon as I can get the scooter started. All right. Okay, love you too. Bye.
The party is over when Gayle calls. He is grinning ear to ear. And the guy's like happy. Like, we see him like actually happy. And then the rest of the hour and a half is him like faking being happy.
Yes. I'm going to tell you though, I'm going to say it right now. I really, really feel for him. I really we'll get more into it, but I really had a hard time hating this guy.
Oh, I was fine with it, but I do feel... I understand where it's just like you just wish he's been so browbeaten into feeling like he can't be himself, and that is heartbreaking.
He's a man that operates 100% from a place of self-hatred. All right, so we got this horrible on-screen text, and it just says, in 2006, after I completed my first film, the one about Pastor Ted was involved in a sex drug scandal.
Okay.
And so we get the news footage, you guys.
One of this nation's most prominent evangelical pastors is making stunning new admissions about his private life. Reverend Ted Haggard said in an interview today that he bought crystal meth from Mike Jones, the male prostitute who says Haggard paid him for sex.
So then Ted's on the local news, of course, and he's just again with that fake smile. He's like,
I called him to buy some meth, but I threw it away.
And did you ever have sex with him?
I went there for a massage.
But wait, the setup for this interview, it's like the reporter is putting a microphone in the passenger side of the truck over Gayle.
And Ted's in the driver's seat.
Yes, Gayle has to lean back so the microphone can pass her to get to Ted.
Yeah.
And Ted never denies it. Yes, I did call him for crystal meth, but I threw the crystal meth away.
Well, I don't believe that.
No, number one, absolutely not. Number two, she goes, did you have sex with him? And he's like, I went there for a massage.
So yes.
He doesn't deny it.
Right, because then we see the website you used to book Mike Jones for a massage. Right. And it's very clear what's happening here.
Of course, but we meet Mike Jones himself, and he tells us straight up.
I know how to bring pleasure to a man. If you want some company by a good-looking hot man, give me a call.
Look, Mike is just hawking his wares.
Great. Again, I say fantastic.
Yes.
And this is the start of Ted Haggard, confessing he's had a lifelong sexual problem. To this day, he considers his sexuality an issue to be dealt with, and it's something he's going to struggle with his whole life. That's where he's coming from with this.
So, if you guys don't, really know who Ted Haggard is, he is, the famous guy from the 90s who was, led the mega church, right?
Yes.
The Evangelicals. You would recognize him.
And it's called the New Life Church. You've probably heard that in, pop culture and in passing.
Totally.
He's the New Life Church guy.
So we're at one of the New Life Church locations. It's a fucking stadium, you guys. It's the size of place Madonna plays. And so we're there, and it's after his fall from grace, and we just see, I describe these guys as the men in black. They just show up, and they're trying to talk to the congregation.
I know your hearts are broken today, but we're here to bring comfort, encouragement, and strength to you. Amen.
It cuts to the audience. These people are sobbing.
Basically, they're just we've been around a gay man and we didn't know about it. This is a tragedy. They are hysterical. They feel so deceived. They were deceived because he was preaching all this hate, and they were like, oh my God,
I know.
He's one of them. He's burning in hell. And I'm like, great, whatever.
Yeah, and they read a letter from him, and it's
My dear New Life church family. I am so sorry. I'm sorry for the disappointment, the betrayal, and the hurt. The fact is, I am guilty of sexual immorality. I am a deceiver and a liar. There's a part of my life that is so repulsive and dark that I've been warring against it all of my adult life.
You guys, he really means that.
He does.
And this is not where my sympathy for him comes in, because at this point I was still like, this guy is just garbage.
Yeah.
Look who's back.
Hey, girl.
I found her. But like, we learn that Ted Haggard, as part of his arrangement or agreement with the church, he's banished from the church, fine. But he's also banished from the state of Colorado. What?
But here's what you have to remember here is like Ted takes this super seriously.
Yeah.
Like the state didn't tell him that. It was the church kicked him out of his house and the church and the state.
Right.
And Ted was like, okay, yeah, I just won't come back. But like no one with any actual like authority told him he couldn't come back.
Alexandra, if you could have put that in the shitty fucking on-screen text, that would have been really helpful. 'Cause it felt to me like he had been legally banished.
No!
I know.
Absolutely not. And they keep calling it like the shitty text is back, and it's all in first person. I'm like, Alexandra.
I know.
And she's like, I visited him several times during the next year and a half during his exile.
I know. And we're going to get to that in 1 second, but right now, Mike Jones, the sex worker, is on every fucking radio show that will.
Oh, yeah.
And good for him. Look, it feels less important now because like the world is what it is. But back in the 90s, like people were outing these people and it was important.
Right.
So this guy, Mike, is like,
He had a relationship with me. We had gay sex.
We had gay, period, sex, period.
we had the gay kind.
Yeah.
We had the gay kind.
Again, I say, great.
Right, totally.
And so Alexandra, again, so we're like on the golf course with Ted and Alex, and she's like, hey, Pastor Ted.
Pastor Ted. Last time I saw you, you were the king of a huge megachurch. Where did all your friends go?
They left. I violated the rules. So, shouldn't have done that.
Where did all your friends go? You're out here all alone by yourself because you were exiled? Like, let's discuss that.
And that's the thing where I'm like, it definitely feels like this is a sympathetic portrait of this man's fall from grace, but at the same time, it feels like she's trolling him. You know what I mean?
Again, she's hysterical laughing.
I know.
She's not subtle. And I guess like she doesn't have to do that work because he already trusts her because he already did a documentary with her in 2005. And I guess she did the sweet talking to let the cameras be on him anyway.
Yeah.
So now she's just laughing.
Yeah, and you know, his answer to that question is like, well, I broke the rules and I shouldn't have done that. Like, when you are a self-hating anything, but when you're like a self-hating gay, and I have some experience with this from people in my life, anytime anything bad happens to you, you think you deserve it. So he absolutely thinks that what they did was right, what he did was wrong, and he deserves the punishment that he's gotten. He thinks that he does. And so he's like kind of okay with it.
Yeah, he's like, I deserve every bit of this. But also I'm like, Ted, you can go back to Colorado. No one's actually exiling you.
Look, there are so many, like, I guess I'll say this now. Ted, throughout this thing, is going to say,
I'd still rather be the way I am now, though, and broke and a man of disrepute than the way I was and have that horrific internal struggle that I had.
no matter how bad my life is now, it's better than how it was when I was living that gay life and doing the drugs and living with all that inner turmoil. And I'm like, Ted, you do know that there's a third option, girl.
Absolutely.
You know, like the third option is you just come out of the closet and learn to love yourself. And like he spends this entire documentary lamenting that he's being a shitty husband and a shitty dad. Girl, if you take care of yourself and be true to who you are, you can then be a good person for these people.
Right, because then we're here with Gayle, everybody, the wife. So Gayle is saying,
I was not aware of the depth of struggle that was going on internally in him. I think I knew from time to time that there wasn't the level of intimacy that I desired.
She knew something was up and she knew that something was going on. So she's saying like, well, why did I stay with him? Because I love him. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure you love him on some level, but if you truly loved him, you would just let him be gay. And like, he is gay, but like you would just let him live his life and support him being actually truly happy.
But that's the thing about this evangelical existence is that they don't see that as an option.
Exactly.
And the thing that I wish we had more of in this documentary was like the Ted Haggard Haggard backstory.
Yes.
What was your childhood like? What were your parents like? What was it? Now, look, I mean, Ted in this documentary is 51. This was in 2005. So that was 15 years ago. My point is, he's a lot older than us. And like a lot of people who grew up in the time that he grew up in, like had a hard time coming to terms with their sexuality. My mother included. My mom married a man and was married. I have 4 siblings, but eventually like was true to herself and came out. I'm not blaming him for his upbringing. I'm just saying it's a real tragedy to me that like to Gayle and Ted, they have to stay married because there's just no other option.
Right. But what they still do in this moment, they're still so hypocritical because Gayle is like,
And I just don't believe in writing people off because they have mistakes.
first of all, yes, you fucking do. Because that crazy church preaches more about what not to do and how wrong everybody else is. You're all about the judgment.
Right.
So now when it's about like her and her life, she's like, I'm not going to write them off. All you do is write people off who aren't like you and follow your rules. It's why you're exiled.
Right. right.
You know?
You got written off, Gayle. And then we're in the car with them?
We're in a dark garage. In a car reading the Bible. Why? To all of those things. Why are we sitting in a car in a dark garage reading a Bible using like the little light at the top of the car?
Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. And pray for those who mistreat you. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned.
They're just like, this is what we do. This is just what we love to do. And look, like, I know people like reading the Bible. Like, do that. Do whatever you love.
Great.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, why are the pages of the Bible on that, like, rice paper? Why are the pages of the Bible so thin?
They're very easily rippable. There's probably some reason about like, that's why you should handle it with care.
Right.
Or something, you know, which I get.
Great.
So we learned that like since the church, again, it's just the church. Like it's nothing, like no one real saying this. I'm not saying the church isn't real, but it's not like a legal binding thing.
Yeah.
So the church is saying, look, you can't live in Colorado ever.
Right. They literally exiled him for life.
For life. And so
crazy.
and I guess he can't have any of the zillions of dollars he made, like being ahead of that megachurch, whatever.
Yeah.
So they're temporarily staying in the homes of strangers.
It's really fucking weird, you guys. Like, we don't know who these people are, how they know them, but we are being welcomed into this home in Scottsdale.
Hello. We're in Scottsdale, Arizona. People have made their house available to us to stay in at no expense.
Come on in.
Well, great. Okay.
Come on in.
So you're going from safe house to safe house.
Yeah, they're loners, and they're nice. This is gorgeous.
Ted is very impressed with the pool and everything. Ted loves
It's a nice house,
the
I
window
gotta say.
treatments. And he knows from window treatments.
He's like, the pool boy comes on which days now?
Yeah. And can we, I feel like 3 times a week, easy, right?
Totally.
No?
We meet the kids, and this is the only note that I made about the children. I was like, these kids have a really good attitude for a couple of formerly super rich kids whose dad got busted with a crystal meth selling gay male sex worker.
Yeah, they seem great.
Hey, welcome to my crib. All right, well, here's my bed, made of memory foam. I have a TV, as you can see, and very nice cabinets to put all of my stuff.
But Alex is all, I'm like, Alex, God, can you take it down like 10 notches? Because, again, they're 2 teenage boys on camera talking about this. Cannot be easy.
No.
And she's these rapid fire questions. Who cleaned this room? How much stuff did you bring? Which one did you like better? You like this house better? Was that one bigger? And I'm like, Alex, my head is spinning and I didn't go through this. Could you just take a breath for a second?
You know, and one of the kids makes fun of the other one for liking a pillow that has feathers on it.
Yeah. You know, the flowers are for him. Little feathers. Yeah.
And I was like, that joke's not going to age well, because guess who loves feathers, girl? Your fucking daddy.
Thank you. Which is great.
Which is great.
Again, I say great.
And they're like, they're going to live in this house for 4 months, and then they don't know where they're going to go.
But like for free.
Yes, but like the trauma, we never see the kids again. We barely see Gayle again. Like the trauma that these kids are going through.
Absolutely.
And we learned down the road that they just don't talk about anything in this family. I'm worried for these children.
Yeah. And so now we learn also, not only did the church kick him out of Colorado, they also told him, oh, you can never work in ministry anywhere ever.
Yeah.
Nowhere. So he's like, I have to find a new way to earn a living.
I know, but the other thing I gotta say here is that Ted Haggard, like, this is never addressed. Ted Haggard was like kind of a household name. Like, everybody in the fucking world knew who Ted Haggard was. And he starts applying for these jobs as though he's like me walking in off the street that no one's ever heard of.
Well, because he's trying to like fly under the radar. Because at one point he's like,
Yeah, if they don't Google me, I'll get the job.
I gotta tell you, this is 2005. I was wondering if Google was even a thing yet. I was like, maybe he's able to make it because Google hasn't happened yet. I thought maybe he'd be okay, but nope, Google is here, girl.
He's like, if they give me a Goog, I am in trouble.
He's interviewing for a job.
Today, we're driving to the University of Phoenix. I'm going to interview for a job there to walk people through the online program for the University of Phoenix.
So here's the whole setup. He's in the car on the way to the job interview, and Alexandra is in the back seat.
Oh my God.
And Ted is like nervous and excited. He's got the big interview.
Alex, once again at 100. She's like, let's rehearse. You do the job interview, and why should I hire you over anyone else? Go. And I'm like, oh.
He's got a good answer, though.
Oh, there's nobody else that's had my experience in motivating people and encouraging people to do what will improve their life, like me.
He was a leader of a 30 million strong church. He's got a point.
Right. And then she goes, what are you going to say if they ask you why you left your previous job?
Oh my God, you guys.
He's completely honest about it. I mean, not completely, but he's honest enough.
I'm going to say that I had a sexual relationship with someone other than my wife.
I was like, this guy's real bad at interviewing. Like, this is not what you say. Like, we've all been fired from jobs. We've all then had to go to the next job interview and make up some shit about why you left your job.
And it's so weird because she's like, Alex says what I'm thinking, and she's like, you think they don't know that? And and Ted goes, nah, this guy won't know.
I just lie. You're going to tell this. Can you imagine you're the interviewer and you're interviewing 51-year-old Ted and you actually don't know who he is? And it's a standard question. He's expecting the lie. The guy wants the lie, girl.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're like, well, I had sex with a person who wasn't my wife. What? I would literally look up and be like, come again? Like,
and for someone who's been lying to himself and everyone else his entire life, you'd think that Ted Haggard would be a better liar.
Yeah, and it's just like, girl, do you want the job or not? It just kind of feels like you don't want the job that bad, girl.
Well, guess what? He doesn't get the job. And so
he's convinced. You guys, we see he goes in and then we get this shitty on-screen text that says 20 minutes later. And I was like, oh shit. He comes out and I'm like waiting for the tears in the car. He's like, it was great. It went great. I'm totally going to get this.
Because he's talking about how, like, you know, the only degree he has is in the English Bible, which isn't really a thing.
My next application, if this doesn't work out, is to drive a city bus because they only require a high school education, which in the secular world, that's all I have because my bachelor's degree is in English Bible, which is worthless in the secular world.
Like he just keeps saying the secular world. Right. And he is just basically saying like everything I did before is useless.
Yeah.
And then he's talking about like he's hysterical. He's like, I totally nailed that interview. Right. And then he just starts talking about George Costanza from Seinfeld. Yes. And I'm like, wait, the Haggards watch Seinfeld? It's about a bunch of like horrible, selfish, mostly Jewish people who spend every single episode either trying to deceive somebody and or have sex.
Right.
Why are the Haggards watching Seinfeld?
I'm feeling a little bit like George Costanza right now. Because you know how George Costanza always felt like his interviews went well and he always made such a fool of himself. I have no way to measure this. I have no measurement system. I've never done this before.
The other thing that we learned, too, is that if this job doesn't work out, his backup job is to be a city bus driver, which, by the way, I know 2 city bus drivers. They are amazing. I just think it wouldn't be a great fit for Ted fucking Haggard.
No, because everyone will say, can you just drive and do your job? I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to, like, can you just get me where I need to go?
It'd be like if I was a bus driver. Right.
I'd be, like, hitting the thing, like, the stop request, like, bing bong, girl.
But, ma'am, you just got on.
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm not doing this right now. I gotta go. We're back to 1997.
Yeah.
And he's telling this story about like his friends were out just like walking around praying, just like on a stroll.
All right, so Ross and I were walking along through the neighborhood, praying for houses, praying for businesses. And then it kind of dawned on both of us simultaneously that we were standing in the middle of a gay bar's parking lot. And then the guy said, hey, are you guys together?
suddenly they realize they're in the parking lot of a gay bar. And I'm like, suddenly, huh? You just happened? Okay. So then like everyone is asking them if they're together. And the whole congregation like erupts with laughter. Like, isn't that hilarious? Like two men together. That's like funny and also disgusting. So Ted is doing bits now. Now he's a stand-up comic. And he's like, I said, no, I mean, we're together as in we're like standing next to each other, but we're not like together. And everyone's like, ha, 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 gays burn in hell. And so he continues.
2 or 3 days later, I was downtown with a staff member, and the thought went through me, I wonder how many people will be at that place in the middle of the day. And as we drove by, a man from our church came walking out the door. And I pulled the car over, jumped out, and I said, hey, brother, and named him. I said, don't worry, it's okay. We're just here to help you in the name of the Lord.
I wonder how many people are in the gay bar right now.
This gay bar that I've totally never been in, by the way. I've never been in there one time.
Yeah, and it was like an accident that I'm even here for the second time. And so he sees a member of the church walk out of the gay bar at like 2 p.m. And he like runs up to the person and he's like, don't worry, I'm here to help you. Apparently, according to Ted in the story, the guy starts sobbing.
So it's like some straight guy from his church who like Ted Haggard is busting coming out of the gay bar.
Ted's like, you guys, it's a happy ending. I dragged him into my car. I reported him to his wife and kids. And I'm happy to tell you the marriage is totally healed. And everyone's like, yay!
And the whole audience erupts.
And now here's what I think happened. I want to hear what you think happened. But what I think happened is that Ted wanted to go cruise the gay bar in the middle of the day because he didn't think anyone would see him. He ended up seeing somebody he knew. He decides to take the pressure off himself and ruin this other guy's life.
This didn't even occur to me. You're absolutely right. This is exactly what happened.
And either the guy is like completely miserable because he's not living his true self, or he's like half miserable because he can only live like his life secretly on the side. I think Ted Haggard was busted.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you're abso-fucking-lutely. It didn't even cross my mind.
He was trying to cruise.
Oh my God. So now Alexandra's like, so girl, how did all this gay shit start, basically?
Yeah, tell me about the gay shit. That's why we're all here, isn't it? Tedward.
He literally says,
I did some same-sex play when I was in the 7th grade. And then all that blew up when I was 50. And I had to analyze myself. Am I a heterosexual, a homosexual, gay, straight, bisexual? What are you, Ted Haggard?
I did some same-sex sex play when I was in the 7th grade.
That is the dirtiest way to say it.
It's so gross.
Same-sex sex play.
It's really, really gross. And then he says, and then it all blew up in my face when I was 50. As though nothing gay happened between 7th grade and 50.
And then he says, well, Alex is like, well, wait a second. You have a choice between like, you can just be your gay self or you can be an evangelical, and you're choosing to be an evangelical.
Yes.
And he says to her, well, no, I am who I am. I'm an evangelical. He's saying he doesn't have a choice, but it's about the religion.
Right. We get this other whole bit in here about how like this big announcement that Ted Haggard has come out as heterosexual. After 3 weeks of counseling, I'm fully heterosexual. And we get all the round robin of all the night shows and everyone's making jokes.
I have to start the show with some sad news. Sad news for the gays, as they're referred to. Unfortunately, they've lost one of their own, Ted Haggard. The Denver Post is reporting that he is now completely heterosexual.
And so Alexandra asks him about that, and he's like, I never said that. The other guy, the other head of the church said it because he's a nice guy and he was just trying to help me out. And the whole point here, like burying the lead, Ted Haggard knows he is gay. He acknowledges that he is gay, but that he has to live his life as a heterosexual.
Yeah, and Alex even says, he's like, because he's like, kind of defending the church, and because he's in exile and all this stuff, and he's still defending them. And Alex is like, why?
He believes he deserves it. Like, that's what the answer is. Like, he honestly, like, people who live like this think that they are bad people and that anything that bad that happens to them, they deserve. He fully accepts this punishment. And like, he just thinks he deserves it. It's so sad. And that's why I feel badly for him. Like, he has done bad things and he's not taking good care of his family. And like, he's not a good person, but he's suffering. This guy is suffering. And it's just hard for me to see it.
Yeah, there is a sad where it's like, I just wish he could just be who he is.
Not only because that's the right thing, but it would solve so many problems. Like, you could get a job and you could, like, your job would be fighting against all the shit that you were doing for the last 30 years, you know?
Absolutely.
You could take care of your kids, even if it was hard for them. They would grow up seeing you be true to yourself. Like, the answer is so obvious and it's so easy and it's so right there, and he just doesn't see it.
Right.
And that is so sad to me.
Meanwhile, now we're 6 months into his exile, and instead of doing any of those great things, he still hasn't found a job. So he's going door to door, hanging things on people's doors to like help them pay off their mortgage fast.
Trying to find people that want to pay off their mortgages super fast. This is the greatest program I've ever seen to help people pay off their houses, actually own them.
And this, I kind of lost it here. I like snapped, if I hadn't already. But because he's like,
what took you to the edge, girl?
Because, well, I've already, that's kind of where I live. I'm always teetering, always hanging off it, looking up like, help. And so he like is pitching it to Alex/us. And he's like, this is the greatest program I've ever seen to help people pay off their houses. And I just like threw my hands up and I'm like, can this guy do anything that's real or genuine? Like, does even his exile job have to be a bunch of bullshit? Can't he do anything that's like real?
And she asks him, how many of these door hangers have you hung up? He says hundreds, maybe thousands. How many calls have you gotten? 0. This is one of those jobs where you only make money if people call you, you know?
Right. And I'm sure if you just said, hey, it's me, Ted Haggard, you'd get more calls.
Totally. That happens eventually.
Right. Well, yeah. Oh, God, does it ever?
So this documentary, I meant to say this at the top. I think this is a weird documentary. It's basically just Alexandra Pelosi following Ted Haggard around. There's no real structure. No. It's just like this man's fall from grace. So guys, like, don't expect any magical filmmaking. But now we're in the parking lot of the roadside Marriott because the family had to move out of that house and they had nowhere to go. And now they're living at the Marriott. I've stayed at very nice Marriotts. This is not one of them, girl.
Yeah, because the guy can't get a job. And like, that's enough. Like his family's on the road. Like, are these kids going to school? No.
I know.
Kids need friends and socializing. They're not doing that. Like, it's just whatever. So Alex is like, how does your family feel about living in this hotel? Alex,
It's just a fact of life. We don't have feelings about where we stay and things like that. We don't even talk about it anymore. It's just the fact of life. All of us were up there studying in the same room last night, and they don't even talk about not having a private place to study or a desk or...
The thing is, I feel like Alexandra and I would get along really well, and you would not like her.
I think it might be one of those things where it's like you have an explosive personality and she has an explosive personality, and when the two of you get together, it can be explosive. Kind of vibe.
Can you imagine?
I think you might leave that. You might come meet me because I would have left. You might come meet me and be like, she is a lot, girl.
Can you imagine? I've literally never said that about anybody. Can you imagine I say that about Lexi Pelosi?
You'd be like, it was kind of a lot. It was like hard to get a word in with her. And I'd be like, tell me more about what that's like. And also, I told you so. So she's asking him, like, how does your family feel about living in this hotel? And he kind of like wraps it all up in a bow, like his whole like thesis on life. And he's like, it's just a fact of life. We don't have any feelings about it, Alex. We don't talk about the situation or our feelings on the situation. And that's just it. And we smile. And I'm like, oh, that's healthy.
And my thing was like, Ted Haggard is smile, smile, smile all through this documentary. This is one of those moments where he kind of gets real. And he's like, he closes his eyes and he's like, we don't talk about it. And he makes it sound like that was a family decision. That was his decision, girl.
We don't talk about how people feel about it. We don't talk about how people are reacting to it. We all know this is the fact of life.
But girl, it's why you're living in this hotel in the first place. This repress and deny and lie. Yes. We don't talk about it. You wouldn't be living in this hotel maybe if you didn't make those choices.
No. And like all of their shit is in a U-Haul in the parking lot
that he refuses to lock because of all the good in the world. And I'm like, Ted Haggard, tell me more about how great the world is treating you right now. Lock the U-Haul.
I know, he doesn't lock the U-Haul.
We don't lock it, but it's fine. Nobody's stealing it. See, all of our stuff is in there. See, there's our stuff. Yeah.
Are you a fool or are you a Christian?
I think I'm still naive. I still see the best in people.
So then we get the on-screen text. 1 year into his exile, Ted took a loan against his home in Colorado so he can rent an apartment. Wait! They still own the house that he's not even allowed to step foot in the state, but he owns the house. Why can't they rent it or sell it?
But that's the thing. Like, Ted, again, it's all because Ted thinks he deserves the punishment. He's making his family suffer because he thinks he deserves all of this.
But can't the punishment be I have to sell my mansion and downgrade not in Colorado? Like, isn't that like you just have to let this gigantic mansion just sit there?
I know. And it's like, the thing is, they move into this apartment building, and of course, Alexandra is like following him around. I think he's getting tired of her, you guys.
Same. Ted Haggard and I have one thing in common.
But she says to him, like, how do you feel about moving into this apartment? And he's trying so hard to stay positive. And he's just like,
I'm grateful for it, but it's sad because I'm grateful for it. We're gonna, I don't know.
I feel grateful. And you could see him stopping from saying like but this is a nightmare.
Yeah. And then Gayle is like, hi, I'm here. Alex, if you just want a little interview, a little face-to-face. Gayle just like pops up out of nowhere to be like, by the way, nobody asked, but I'd marry him again tomorrow. Just letting you know, okay? And I'm like, would you, Gayle? Would you?
I know. And I'm like, Ted, girl, you could have a beautiful 2-bedroom condo in West Hollywood, girl. Mm-hmm. You could be living the life. Like gays who are living this evangelical lifestyle, I'm sure millions of you are listening.
I know.
You do not need to live like that.
No,
you do not need to live like that.
You really, really, really don't. And now, like, Ted's now, like, on the road selling insurance door to door.
This is a John Candy movie. Like, this is so depressing. I don't even know.
John Candy did a lot of comedies, girl. Do you mean John Candy?
I'm thinking about how, like, this is funny to everybody but the person who's living it.
I see. Like Uncle Buck. Yeah.
Yeah, or like trains, planes, automobiles. You know what I mean?
God.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, like, he's on the road, and even he calls himself a traveling salesman. I didn't even know they made those anymore.
They don't. He's just so far behind.
Yes, and he's walking into some, like, gross chain motel, and he just goes,
So this is my new life. Village Inn, Motel 6 or 8, and helping people get decent insurance.
And he's like, we see him sitting down, like basically ordering the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. He's got like 10 plates of food coming to him. And he's on the phone, and it's like, it's just so bizarre. He's selling insurance, right? And he goes,
Hi, Philip. This is Ted, the health insurance guy. I'm available anytime.
We hear him go, hi, Mike. This is Ted, the health insurance guy. Can you imagine?
Did you like the pie I left you yesterday?
I know.
Ted word.
He was Ted Haggard. Like, this was a guy that preached. We see footage of him selling out stadiums. Now he's Ted the health insurance guy.
But he's still, the apple. You can take the girl out of the mega church, but you can't take the mega church out of the girl, because now he's with like a guy reading the Bible whilst trying to sell him insurance.
I know this Bible.
Oh, what do you know about it?
Yeah, it's the Living Bible. They put a lot of these out. This is a Jesus Movement Bible from the 70s.
Oh, really? So what's that mean? Good or bad?
It's very good.
The guy says to us, like, it's not every day you get a celebrity coming to your door.
Right. So, like, his name is Phil. Phil is an enigma because Phil absolutely knows who Ted Haggard is.
Yeah.
But he is reading the Bible for the first time, which I like is me, right? Like, I know who Ted Haggard is, but I have never read the Bible. So it's not that much of an enigma, but he's like really, like, Phil is now like giving his interpretations of the passages, and Ted's like, I got him. I'm reeling him in. And like right at the end, he's like,
Philip, when do you want me to call you?
I don't know. I can't do nothing this month. I can tell you that.
Do you want me to call you the next month?
I just can't afford it right now. I'm just literally not going to make the end of the month.
That was really great Bible study, Ted. Also, not going to do the insurance thing.
And the thing is, what's so confusing to me about this is that this guy is saying, I just can't afford it. Ted is like, it's $12 a month. That's half a pizza. Look, I totally get not being able to afford $12 a month. But when Ted leaves this guy's house and we go outside, it's like this gorgeous neighborhood. Like, this guy just doesn't want to buy insurance from Ted. He's got the cash.
He just wanted to talk to Ted Haggard.
Totally. And he tricked Ted Haggard into doing a Bible study with him.
Ted, loving you, can't do the insurance.
You know that Ted sat through like at least a full half day of training for this like door-to-door salesman job.
And they're like, Ted girl, the pies don't work. Like, don't make people pies. And he's like, I'll show you. And bakes people pies and then calls to follow up about it.
But it's so sad because we're back in the car with Ted, and Ted literally says,
I didn't make any money this week. Lost money big time. Lost money I don't have. I'm gonna have to borrow. Got no money in savings. So in this stage of my life, I'm a loser. First class loser.
To me, it is such... I can feel his anxiety in this moment.
Of course.
It's one of those jobs where you don't get a base salary. Like, you only make money if you can get this guy to spend $12 a month on insurance, and he's spending his own money driving around the state, staying at these shitty motels, and he can't get anyone to buy anything from him.
Yeah, like, I know what that's like when you have a negative balance and rent is due, and then what your next bartending shift is? The Monday day shift, girl.
Totally.
I remember that like, I can feel it, like, what am I? Oh my God, I understand it. I also didn't preach hate speech against myself.
No, that's true. You didn't do that. You managed to not do that. The point is, it's hard to not relate to him. Like, this guy is just fucking suffering.
So now we're on the road again, whatever that song is. And so we're crossing over from Arizona into Nevada.
Oh God.
This is no moral restraint from the law, and this is moral restraint from the law. Here's going to be gambling. Here's going to be prostitution. Here's going to be porn. Over there, if there's gambling going on, it's a secret meeting behind a Chinese restaurant. You and I are coming here for dinner, and that's it. Then we're out of here.
He's scolding Alex. He's totally talking to himself here, but he's like, Alex, listen to me. Eye contact, girl. We're having dinner, and then that's it, and then we are out of here. And I'm like, you're talking to yourself, girl. You know all you want to do is just walk the strip and see who looks interesting.
Yep, I had the exact same note. Ted Haggard is horny. He would be in Vegas by himself were it not for this pesky filmmaker.
You need some stress release.
Totally. It's just like, Ted, it doesn't have to be like this. You could have a husband and a poodle.
Yeah. Look at you with the dogs. I'm loving it. And then we're literally in bed with Ted Haggard. It's like he's laying there all tucked in. His head is sideways. The camera angle is weird because he's actually laying in bed.
But I'm like, Alexandra, you guys aren't sharing a room, right, girl? You got your own room at this Motel 6, right?
You're on the way out, right? Yeah, you're in jeans and sneakers. You're not getting comfortable here, right?
Oh God.
But he's in his jammies, tucked into bed.
And it's very weird. And he's just lying there on the bed reading a Bible verse on his phone. This guy is so sad and at the end of his rope. And I was looking at the time and I'm like, wait, there's only 3 minutes left of this documentary. I was like, what? How does this end?
And he's talking about, and we don't get into this. He's like,
I'm not mentally ill. However, I did have some things in my mind from childhood that were extremely powerful. Now I've learned.
And then he talks about how he was suicidal. He gets really, really dark. But we're in bed with him. And it doesn't have, the words that he's saying are very serious, but the tone of the scene doesn't really carry that kind of weight.
The last scene of this thing is Alexandra and Ted Haggard walking into the desert. I'm like, where are you guys going?
Yeah, he's praying in the desert, which is again fine. Totally. And then we get just pages and pages of follow-up with the on-screen text. Yeah. And we learn that 18 months after he was, quote, exiled, Ted ended his spiritual restoration, whatever that means. I'm taking guesses.
What does that even mean?
I don't know, because the next follow-up is that they were, quote, given permission by the former church to move back into their home in Colorado. Suddenly they're like, 18 months was enough. Come on home. And but he's still trying to sell life insurance. He is forbidden to enter the church he founded. And so then we get another title card, totally different font, by the way.
They ran out?
Yeah, now it's Helvetica, and I'm like, whew, finally I can breathe. And because it's totally an afterthought because I guess they added on HBO because it says, coinciding with the release of the film, additional allegations were reported regarding Ted Haggard's inappropriate behavior during his time at New Life Church. So of course, everyone's talking now.
I mean, remember all those inappropriate hugs from the beginning?
Yeah, but it's if everyone's of age and consents, have fun. But right. if it's this, is it inappropriate in the eyes of the church, or is it inappropriate because they were underage, or it was a secret, or there was meth involved? Alex, girl, take the camera off yourself and give me a little context. I'd love it.
Oh my God, we did the Trials of Ted Haggard. I thought it was really gonna go in more on like feeling sorry for him. I didn't really get to that much.
No, I didn't think it was gonna be like, let's travel Arizona and Colorado in the desert with Ted Haggard while he tries to get a new gig. Like, I thought it was gonna be have a little more substance or something.
My God. Well, you guys, if you're looking for more Jillian and me, join us on the Patreon. Over 150 full bonus episodes to download and binge right this second. Everything from I'll Be Gone in the Dark to The Vow to Fear City to
Tiger King, Don't F with Cats, Making a Murderer,
Serial, The Staircase, Making a Murderer.
And we're doing Martha Moxley now. We're gonna do Wilderness of Errors coming up after Martha Moxley.
Oh my God!
We just got a lot.
It's every long form series that is out there. We've done it, or it's coming up. Girl, I know what we're doing next.
Oh, great!
We are doing the HBO documentary, The Mystery of D.B. Cooper.
Tell me, what is it? I've seen that name floating. What's going on with that?
It's so crazy. So I feel like the D.B. Cooper story is famous in the true crime world. Like, every podcast has covered it. It's basically about a guy who hijacked a plane in the 70s and got a shit ton of money, like $200,000. At 10,000 feet, he parachuted out of the plane and was never heard nor seen from ever again. And so this documentary.
Oh, wait. Yes, I know. Yes. Okay, I know this.
Yeah. There was a theory towards the end of Mad Men that they were going to make Don Draper was going to be D.B. Cooper. Like, that was a thing.
Because he falls out of the window.
Yes.
Okay.
But I've only seen the first couple minutes of it, but it seems like we are looking at the candidates of who it might actually have been. Ooh. I'm so excited. I love it. It's HBO Max. Go watch it before next week.
Okay, great. I'm in.
Girl, where can they find us?
Well, you can find the trailer for Twas the Night in the Hamilcast podcast feed and at twasthenightplay.com. It's fun. I promise you it's fun.
It's going to be amazing. You guys subscribe to the Hamilcast so you get it the second it comes out.
And so you can find me at Jillian with a G on all the things. You are Patrick Hines _ on Insta and at Patrick Hines on Twitter. We are at True Crime Obsessed Podcast on Instagram and True Crime Obsess, no ED, on Twitter.
Good job, girl.
Thanks.
We love you guys. Stay tuned for the trailer for The Mystery of D.B. Cooper and then our ridiculous, fun, and hilarious outtakes.
Yeah. TM. That's trademark. We haven't said that in a long time.
We love you.
We love you. Thanks so much.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Just as we were starting the roll down the runway, the flight attendant next to me handed me this note. It said, "You're being hijacked. I've got a bomb. Come sit next to me."
When he got on a plane in Portland, Oregon last night, he was just another passenger. But today, after hijacking a Northwest Airlines jet, master criminal.
He demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes. Then he disappeared.
D.B. Cooper. Don't know his identity. Don't know where he came from. Don't know what happened to him.
There was one key thing your husband said to you.
I'm Dan Cooper.
There are thousands of people who say, I know who Cooper is.
I believe it's my dad.
I know.
I know my uncle was D.B. Cooper.
I realize I sound exactly like those people.
I think he's one of the slickest cats that ever, walk on the face of the earth right now.
The man's beat the system, so to speak, a little bit.
The man who held the secrets. What secrets? What did we miss?
Cooper figured it out, and he got away with it. I want to be a Cooper.
I wish he had never told me anything.
The font is real bad, Alexandra.
It's
real
bad. It's bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's not Comic Sans and it's not Papyrus, but it's unbelievably a hybrid of the two. I'm so glad we decided to make a podcast about a genre that has a lot of content, huh?
I know.
Real smart of us to really be at the forefront of that idea to talk about true crime. We're smarty pants.
Yeah, we're good at this. Do you remember in the early days, we would have to look for the garbage bell for 10 minutes before we could start recording?
And Steve would be at his job and he wouldn't answer.
Yes, yeah.
And you would get so mad. Men. Am I right, Ted Haggard? Can't live with them.